Welcome, everybody. It is so nice to see such a nice crowd for this very important topic. We have a very special workshop format for Coffee and Conversation today. Really happy to welcome best-selling author Wendy Michelle, who has written the Just in Case workbook that's there. I also want to just mention and thank Linda Winslow, who is a close personal friend of Wendy's, and thank you for connecting us. Really appreciate it. Thank you. So as you can see, Wendy provided paper and pens for everybody, but she also did bring copies of her workbook, which I know many of you have already taken advantage of. Carrie sent out a robocall yesterday mentioning that very generous discount from Wendy, and we also added a little bit extra to defray the cost. So the regular price of $40, you can buy it for $15 today. So if that's something that you decide you'd like to take advantage of, please do. They're over there. Okay, so Wendy, I'm sure, is going to tell you all about herself, her background, and the workbook, but there was one quote that she had listed that I thought really summed everything up really nicely. When the time comes for someone to step in and become the expert on your life, you have the ability to prepare them. So thank you, Wendy. Really appreciate you being here.
Hey, can everyone hear me okay? Yes. Fantastic. Well, thank you. You can't hear me in the back? No? Can you hear me in the back now? You still can't hear me in the back. You might need to hold the microphone. All right, hold on. Maybe if I, hold on. Wonder if I put it here. Can you hear me in the back now? Yeah? All right, I don't want to feel like I'm yelling at you guys, but I'm going to try to talk really loud so everyone can hear me. Okay, so first of all, thank you all so much for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here, and I truly hope I'm going to be able to make a meaningful impact for each and every one of you. I would like to start off with what my mission is today. What is Just in Case Solutions? And then we're going to dive into a really quick mini shop, like it's a mini workshop. I want you to get out your pens and paper and jot down some notes. So today, I hope to inspire, encourage, and motivate each one of you to go home and take action on something that is going to help your loved ones struggle less. Maybe it's something that you've been putting off for a really long time, or maybe it's something that you have never even thought of. Either way, I want you to write down at least one thing, okay? I love those overachievers, though, too, that fill up both sides of the paper. And if you could, take your paper and pen home with you, but I would greatly appreciate if you could leave the clipboards on the table behind, and we'll come around and pick them up when it's all done. So my name is Wendy, and I am the author and the creator of the 10 Easy Step Just in Case Solutions. One question that I get asked a lot is what inspired me to create such a workbook? Well, many years ago, I worked for a financial corporation, and that corporation acted as a fiduciary trustee. Now, even though there were many services that they provided to their client, there was one thing in particular that they gave out for free, and it was a file folder organizational packet. This was prior to smartphones existing. Not all houses had a computer, and most everything was done manually. Now, back then, most financial or insurance companies, they gave away something like this for free to their clients. Maybe you guys have seen one before where you opened up the packet and inside there were folder contents that you created a nice filing organizational system within your own home file cabinet. However, what I learned was some people said, thank you very much for the gift, and they never did it. Or, right, people, yes, or they started it and they never finished it. So for a select few clients, I actually went out and helped them. During this time, this is when I learned that, wow, what was in this file cabinet was important, but what about everything else that someone's going to need to know or act on? This was the first time I started asking myself, is having just a will enough? Now, at the time, I was a single parent with a very young child. And you know, I started to think about what would happen should something happen to me. Now, we all want to live together forever and live forever and be there for our kids. but accidents and illnesses happen every day. Tragedies are sad. You know, most of the clients I was working with back then, they were of the older age group, but not all of them. And at the time, my parents were young and they were just preparing for their retirement. I started to worry and think, wow, did my parents know enough to handle my life, manage my affairs, raise my child if something should happen to me? So I thought, well, what do I need to do? Were they ready to step in and raise their granddaughter? Oh, I knew they would because they love their granddaughter. So looking at this file folder organization, I thought, well, what else can I do? So I started thinking of every single scenario that would be able to help them should something happen to me. Being the detailed person that I am, I started writing anything and everything down, putting it in my own file cabinet. I did not want them searching for answers going on that scavenger hunt. So over the years, I started sharing what I was doing with my friends and family. And there was this one friend, however, at the time, she was fighting a terminal illness. And she's the one that truly, truly pushed me to publish something so everyone could do this in the comfort of their own home. She was the one that made me realize that some people just don't know how to think outside that file cabinet. Now, I know I'm not the only one that wants their loved ones to struggle less. My daughter is now a grown 30-year-old woman, doesn't even live in the same state as me, and I want to do everything I possibly can now while I still have the ability to do so to make sure that she's not overwhelmed with figuring out my life. So I lost her a few years ago. I kept my promise to my dear friend, and I published a solution where anybody in their own home is going to be able to gather and organize things simply and know where to begin. So Just In Case Solutions, what is it? Just In Case Solutions is a comprehensive workbook that provides individuals or couples an easy way to organize, record, and then deliver all of your essential life details in a consolidated manner. Should an unfortunate scenario, such as an accident, illness, or loss of life occur, all of your information is going to be easily available to your loved ones or to your designated responsible person. It adds value and it partners really well with the retirement, caregiving, estate, and funeral planning process by bridging that gap with all of the details outside of the professional planning process. I have spent over 20 years refining this comprehensive solution to alleviate the burden for my own family, addressing the struggles that they may face. And now I have the privilege to share this solution with all of you, so you're going to be able to ease the burden on your families and be able to provide them with a roadmap for them to follow in the future. So before we go on, I want to talk about who this solution is not for and what it does not do. It is not for the cynic or anybody with a completely negative outlook. If you are someone that says, I don't care, I'll be dead, it won't be my problem, this is not for you, okay? Someone who's totally dismissive and thinks, yeah, I got everything all set. I've talked to an estate planning attorney, I have a will, I'm good. Very dismissive. Well, probably not for you, but however, unlike the cynic or someone who with a completely negative outlook, that person might actually sit back and learn that having a will might not be just enough. You know, I've always been deeply concerned about the burden that it would place on my daughter if I was to be diagnosed with dementia or had an accidental death. Being proactive is what I can do. She might lack the knowledge to handle my entire life, manage my affairs. She might not know what to do. She doesn't even live in the state as me. I want to ease her the burden, and I want to alleviate that need for those frantic searches. And there's a responsibility checklist within this workbook that is going to help guide her. So what does it not do? It does not ask how much money you have. It asks what account you have and where are those accounts located. It does not ask who is getting what in your will. It asks if you have a will and where is that will located. You know, once our loved ones know something exists, they're going to be able to act accordingly. Whether you have a lot of money or a little money, they're going to struggle the exact same way. It also does not provide professional services. It does ask you triggering questions, though, probing questions that are going to make you think. We have so many professionals out there to go to ask for advice if you need help with a particular section. Lots of professionals, right? We have our banks and financial advisors to help us with our money and retirement planning. We have our accountants for our taxes, various doctors for our physical and mental health. We have a lot of different attorneys to help us with our legal matters, as well as estate planning, very important. But who's the professional that we go to when we need to start organizing our own essential life details? We need to be our own professionals. We need to step up and take action for ourselves. So no one knows your life better than you. So you need to be your own life expert and alleviate the pressure for the people who love you the most. When the time comes for someone to step in and be the expert of your life, you have the ability to prepare them. Everyone's scenario is different, so this solution is going to be different. Everyone in this room, you might have a will, but the location of that will is going to be different. So remember, no one knows your life better than you. Now, I believe we all had an eye-opening experience in 2020 with regards to the pandemic. It had affected all of us in the lives of the ones that we loved the most. So I want to ask yourself, is your loved one ready to step in and handle your entire life should you unexpectedly be laid up for an extended period of time? If you're in an unexpected accident, if you're suddenly fighting a terminal illness, if you're unable to speak for yourself, or when your death eventually comes. Throughout this presentation, there are going to be questions for you to ask yourself. Make sure to look at the slides. I might not say what is on the slide, so take a look and to see what's displayed. I would love to ask 3 questions, and with a show of hands, class participation time. How many of you have been involved or witnessed someone in a crisis or tragedy? Pretty much the whole room. Have you experienced someone diagnosed with a terminal illness or saw or felt the burden, or maybe you're like me, you just fear this? Number 3, have you watched a family member or friend struggle after a loved one passed, not knowing what to do or where to begin? Or maybe it was yourself wishing that your parents were a little bit more organized? Yes. So what's the solution with this struggle? The solution has to be comprehensive, and it needs to be easy. It needs to gather every aspect of your daily, monthly routines, critical legal documents, financial accounts, insurance policies, health and medical information, end-of-life wishes, and so much more. Dividing up this process allows you to tackle one step at a time. This approach makes it more manageable, less overwhelming, and it helps it be not such a daunting task. Because let's face it, none of us want to do this, but it's something that we all should. It also needs to provide assistance for the person who is completing the workbook, along with providing assistance to the person who is utilizing it. Now, I'm going to use my 10-step solution to go through the rest of this presentation, but before we go through the steps, maybe you're wondering why I do this. What is the value? In my opinion, it is absolutely priceless. It is going to take some time and a bit of effort on your part, but it will make things easier for the ones that you love the most. providing an all-inclusive and well-organized resources, it will make a life-changing assistance to those who care about you. It alleviates those pondering thoughts, those pondering thoughts of, where do I even start? How do I know how many retirement accounts dad has? I wonder where mom would keep that. You want your friends and family to have good memories of you and not the long-lasting thoughts of what a gigantic mess you left for them to figure out. Or how about waiting years for probate to be settled while your loved ones are trying to make sense of your clutter and disorder? So let's get started with the mission for today. Step 1. If you have a workbook and you would like to follow along, please feel free. If not, please jot down anything that you might think of in regards to your own life. So each step, I'm going to only display a few highlights. Each step in the solution, there's so much more inside. But what's on the screen, I might not say. So let's start off. Ask yourself, do you and your loved ones know where all of your important certificates are located? And do you have originals or are they copies? Now, some folks are lucky to live near their loved ones. However, others' family, they might not even be in the same state as them. Here's a true story. I had a European neighbor that lived across the street. She lost her husband. She was living alone, no kids. She had one niece who lived in London. When she unexpectedly passed away, her niece from London not only had no idea how to handle anything within the United States, she didn't know that she needed to bring the trash to the dump and where the dump was located. Providing the address and telephone numbers to your local important town offices, they are going to alleviate the hassle of the need of your loved one looking it up. And in this poor girl's situation, it would have provided her with where the post office town was, the town hall, registry of motor vehicles, probate court. Emails. How many emails do you have, and do you know the password? Look, this information is automatically saved to our electronically devices now, and we forget the login credentials. Some people only have one email address. Me, I have multiple email addresses. So I need to document each one of those email addresses and the purpose that I use for each one of those emails. Now, this one is probably not going to pertain to many of you, but if there's one person in this room, or maybe you know somebody that you could relay this information to, I'm going to ask it anyway. Ask yourself, do you have a collection of firearms? If you own firearms, ask yourself who would be the person in charge of those firearms or assist your loved one if they need help with them. Not everyone has the same comfort zone here. My daughter is a criminal justice major, and I am not as comfortable with them as she is. If something should happen to my daughter, I know who to call to assist me in helping with those firearms. So you need to write down everything that is stored in that safe. Where's the paperwork? What's the combination for the lock? I mean, some of these containers now, they have a thumbprint with a backup key card. Where is that backup key card located? So if something happens to my daughter, I need to know where that backup key card is located. Because then I'm going to be able to appropriately take care of legally transferring the ownership and the location of those firearms. And if you do not have something in place, every single local police department is going to be able to help and assist you. Now, for everyone else in the room, ask yourself, what else do you own that might have a combination, a lock, or a key card to access? What about your keys? Do your loved ones know the keys? What kind of keys that you have? What about those doors with the keyless entry now? Some people program a specific code for a certain person. So like, for example, if you have a cleaning person that no longer is coming into your house, you clear that code out, right? Do you have a list written down of all the PIN codes you have programmed in that keypad? so your loved ones know who else has access to your home. Okay, so I'm personally a work in progress in the key department. This is actually a real picture of keys that I just randomly found around my house when I was organizing. I mean, some of these keys are so old, I don't even know what they belong to. I don't want my daughter opening up that box someday going like, Mom, what do all these keys go to? Is it just me? Does anyone else have random keys floating around that they don't know what they belong to? Like, where do they come from? Well, I need to make a decision on what to do with those. So I gather them all up and, they're just sitting there. But I need to make a decision with those so my daughter doesn't have to. Or maybe you have a key to someone else's house. I'm an emergency contact from my friend's kids. So I have an emergency key to their house, and I want to make sure to label that one appropriately. Okay, so now, is anyone ever truly organized? It's almost impossible to have a truly organized life. Some of us are just disorganized in nature, and some of us are a little bit more tidy. However, we do not need to change who we are as a person. Embrace who you are. Whether you're a neat freak or a slob, it does not matter who you are. We do not need to change who we are to organize and record what matters most. I heard someone say once, Wendy, why bother cleaning my car? It's just going to wind up a complete disaster a week later. Well, this is true, right? However, maybe it's not your car, and maybe it is your home office that's a disaster. Which one of these home offices look like you? Me, I'm kind of like in the middle. I really strive to be this one on the left, but life happens. So I need to remind myself that every once in a while, I need to go into my office, my desk, and clean it up, because I know a more organized desk is going to benefit my loved ones. Technology. Oh, we have so much technology now. We have login credentials for everything. Apps, websites, streaming service, subscriptions, so many. Are all of your usernames and passwords written down and stored someplace private? Do you track them on an app or utilize a privacy software? Bunch of sticky notes in this picture displayed up there? Not the best method. No. Find a solution and what works best for you. There are electronic options out there, manual options, whatever you choose. Make sure your loved ones know and keep it safe. Oh, and don't forget about the codes that you log into your laptop, tablet, or cell phone. They might not have your face or thumbprint to access it. Now, photographs, older photographs, right? They're in albums. However, current photos are most likely digital pictures. And bear with me, I have new technology and the screen's jumping all over the place. Okay, here we go. So photographs nowadays are digital. So think about, where are your digital pictures stored? Your loved ones might want some of these pictures. Now, they might not want a picture of the tree that you took on vacation, but if you're standing in front of that tree, they might actually want to treasure that picture forever. Every once in a while, I go through and I delete some of my silly pictures and I transfer the important ones over to an external hard drive. So think about, where are all your digital photographs stored? Pictures are also on social media. Social media is a different animal, and I am not a social media expert. However, if you use social media, I want to have you ask yourself, what do you want done with your social media accounts and profile upon your passing? Every platform is different. For example, Facebook, you can add a legacy contact and the account can be memorialized or it can be shut down. If you have a preference, I would suggest taking a look, being proactive, and also telling your loved one what your wishes are with your social media accounts. There are many scenarios where your family, friends, and neighbors need to be contacted. Maybe your responsible person needs to know something specific about a certain person. Every family has different dynamics here. Some are close with no issues, and others, they're not so fortunate. As we get older, our families seem to get smaller and smaller, and as they get smaller, it causes additional anxiety and heartbreak. If you know someone outside of your immediate family who will be able to step in the case of a just-in-case scenario, try to have a conversation with them or write something down for them. The location of family paperwork is important to document, like adoption paperwork, death and marriage certificates. Maybe it's the name and number of a caseworker, or maybe you have guardianship paperwork for a grandchild. If there are young children involved and there's an unexpected accident, maybe it's a neighbor that needs to be contacted. Pets also have paperwork. Some of these pets even have registered paperwork. Right? Do your loved ones know how to take care of your children and your pets? Maybe you have an adult child or sibling that has a special need, and you need a way to deliver all their important information to someone else should something happen to you. I received some wonderful feedback from a gentleman who stated that he completed my workbook for his child, realizing that his child was going to outlive him. This was a way that he was going to be able to gather and deliver everything for the new guardian, and they would be supplied with everything that they needed to know. Parents with young children, they need to share details like daycare, allergies, medications, doctors. However, having an adult child or sibling that truly needs you, it's important to write all the information down that someone else is going to need to know. Maybe it's just what triggers them or what comforts them. And this also goes for pets. Sometimes we love these fur babies better than we love humans. Maybe there's some pet, lovers in the room. And we really want to make sure that they're taken care of. Now, all these pictures are really cute, but sometimes they don't act cute. Write down how to take care of them. What type of food do they eat? Medications, their microchip authentication, along with their veterinarian, groomer, and include if you've already prepaid for pet insurance and where that policy is located. Number 3. Your loved one would appreciate knowing health and medical information should an accident or illness occur, especially if your loved one has to communicate on your behalf. Ask yourself, what do they need to know to best help you? If a loved one needs to assist with your care, knowing your current health, medical history, health insurance information, do you have allergies, hearing aids, glasses, medical devices? Do you have a facility preference? Or maybe your preference is, I'll go into any facility except that one. Now, I know sometimes this is out of our control. However, I'm going to share a story that just happened not that long ago. My neighbor was in the hospital, and she needed to go to a rehab facility before she could go back home. Now, her husband has Alzheimer's, and he's in an Alzheimer's facility, and she was really missing going and visiting him every single day. Well, that Alzheimer's facility, they had a rehab. And now, even though it's up to whether or not they have a bed available, is it covered by insurance? There's all these hoops that you have to jump through. However, she opened up and talked to her son and said, I really want to go there. Help me make it happen. And he made it happen. It's pretty impressive. But, sometimes these things are a little out of our control. But communicate. If you are taking daily medications and have not written them down, make a list of your prescription drugs, their dosages, your over-the-counter medications, and any supplements that you take. If you're one of the lucky ones with a big, long list, take a picture of it with your cell phone so it's always with you. We never go anywhere without our cell phones now. If you need to text it, send it to one of your loved ones and say, hey, this is what I'm taking just in case, or put it on your fridge. However, if you don't want to share that information, and I understand some people are like, they don't want everybody else, they don't want their family members to know, that's okay. At least tell them that you wrote it down someplace and where they can go to go find it. I'm pretty sure we all know someone that shares absolutely everything, and then someone that just doesn't want to talk or share anything at all. This is a good time for us to talk about how we all need to overcome procrastination and why is this topic so hard to discuss, making us all really uncomfortable. Is it avoidance? Does it cause you anxiety for you or your loved ones? Is it fear? Do you need to be in control? Do you don't trust anyone? Maybe you're just really shy? How about this one? One spouse or family member, they really want to talk about it, and the other one is like, nope, completely ignoring you, absolutely shrugging you off. Remember how the pandemic affected all of us and the lives that we love the most? We couldn't even go into the hospital with our loved ones. If you were to become weakened for an extended period of time, we need to push all of these roadblocking feelings aside and do what is best for our loved ones in order to help ourselves, and vice versa. Recording the details for them to reference is what we can do. Now, if you're not ready to share, that's okay. At least start in the process of the comfort of your own home. It is amazing to me the number of people that will share their life stories, their fears, their medical struggles with me, a complete stranger. However, when it comes to their loved ones, ask yourself, do you share or do you not share? Now, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this step since everyone in the room is most likely retired, or maybe you have an HR department, but some people never stop working, whether or not it's full-time, part-time, or seasonal. Contact information for your current employer or union, any benefits that employer provides, survivorship benefits that employer provides. If you're a business owner, contact information if you have a business partner, location of your business agreements, if you own any patents, trademarks, copyrights, domains. And military. First, thank you to all who have served our country. Now, I'm going to say I'm not a military expert, but I did get the opportunity to sit down with some folks from the Department of Veteran Affairs. And I wanted to discuss with them what in my second edition I would be able to do to better help military members and their families. It's interesting, one thing I heard about their struggles was the same struggles, people not in the military. People only know what they know. Ask yourself, are you a member of a veteran organization? Do you have a responsibility at that organization? Do you know where your discharge documents are, your DD-214 or equivalent? That's very important. Military members and their loved ones, they should be able to easily access the details in order to complete a military form. For eligibility or assistance, cemetery applications, and memorial products, so their loved ones do not have to go searching all around looking for answers just to complete a form. And they have a lot of forms. Gather and write everything down pertaining to your military experience, your awards, your decorations. And please, if there's anything that you're going to write down and you're a military member, get help from the VA early. They say that survivorship benefits may take a while to process, so consider getting educated with them in advance. You want to write down the names and contact information for all of your professionals that you work with, accountants, attorney, your financial advisors. We have so many of them. I want to ask this question for you. Ask yourself, does your loved one know what legal documents that you have or don't have? Where are these documents located and who is responsible for them? I love the people that say, Wendy, I have a power of attorney if it's needed. Okay. But they never tell the person who's responsible for that power of attorney where that document's located. That could be helpful. There are multiple pages within this section that are going to ask you probing questions. I'd love to be able to just take a time and ask you 5 of them. Are there documents that you don't have that you should have? Is your real estate held in a trust? What are your wishes and intent with your property? Do you have a bank account held jointly with someone you trust who might be able to pay immediate medical expenses if needed? Have you reviewed all of your accounts to ensure accurate beneficiaries are listed? If you have not done so in a while, it is okay to reach out and touch base with your professionals. Make sure that you are all set. Are there any legal actions or claims your loved one may need to know of? Do you need to have a conversation with your accountant or your attorney to help prepare your loved ones in advance for any estate tax returns? I'm pretty sure they don't want to get stuck with a large tax bill. What about, has your family had any life-altering changes recently? Divorces, marriages, birth of a grandchild, anything that's going to trigger you to the need to update your will? For me, there's so many electronic devices and digital assets now. I need to review my estate plan because I want to make sure electronic fiduciary powers are covered within my estate plan. Okay, show of hands. Who here has a safe deposit box? Probably 50% of the room, maybe. If you have a safe deposit box, ask yourself, does your loved one know that you have a safe deposit box? Do they know where it's listed? Excellent. I want you to write the names who's listed. Actually, you know what? There's something on my website for you folks. If you go to my website on the free resources page, there's a safe deposit box inventory tracking sheet. Please go out there, request that free resource. It's extremely helpful and it complements this 10-step solution really well. I'm going to end this slide with a quote from an estate planning attorney by the name of Kendra O'Toole. However, I have heard many estate planning attorneys expressing this exact same thing. And so here's her quote. While a safe deposit box might be useful for items such as expensive jewelry, your estate planning documents need to be readily accessible. Should an emergency arise, banks are not open 24 hours a day. For this reason, I recommend storing your documents in a fireproof, waterproof box or filing cabinet at home. And most estate planning attorneys' offices, they'll hold your documents for you as well. You can have more than one copy. Since I mentioned expensive jewelry, everyone has important possessions, irreplaceable items. Whether they have a high dollar amount, like an antique car, coin collection, jewelry, maybe a painting, or maybe they're just all purely sentimental, such as photographs or a family heirloom that is important to you and your family. I'm sure we've all heard stories of someone who threw out something extremely of high value because they just didn't know it was worth anything at all. Create an inventory list. It will be extremely helpful to your loved ones to know what items of yours have financial or sentimental value. It is never too late to get started. It is never too late to get organized, and it is never too late to start being prepared. Talk with your family, talk with your friends. Do not be afraid to ask for help. Take one room at a time. Walk around, see what needs to be written down pertaining to that room, and then move on. A couple years ago, I spent some time in my basement shredding some old boxes. I'm pretty sure my daughter and the IRS don't care about Wendy's tax returns from over 20 years ago. So take some time, walk around your house, clean out some of those old boxes that might just be lying around. Okay, gather all your information about your financials and your insurance. So as I mentioned earlier, this recording process does not ask how much money you have. It asks what accounts you have and where they are located. Because once your loved one knows one of those accounts exists, they're going to be able to act accordingly. But they need to know it exists first. Make a detailed list where the policies are located. Are they in your file cabinet? Are they in a box in your closet? Maybe they're saved digitally on your computer. You know, when I did my inner review of this section, I learned that my term life insurance policy was going to expire this year. Well, I need to make a decision on what I'm going to do with that. So when you're doing this, take a look at your dates, check your dates. I also needed to record that I had a money transfer service. Now, I'm pretty well aware that my daughter knows I have Venmo because sometimes I transfer money to her that way. However, what she might not trigger to is that checking to see if I have a balance in that Venmo account before she closes the bank account that is linked with the Venmo account. Now, we don't normally have a lot of money in these accounts, maybe $10 or whatever, but that's our $10. It's your $10. And if she closes out this bank account before she makes that transfer, it's just going to create a bigger headache for herself. So she needs to know that that account exists first to have her take a look at it. Yeah, I also use PayPal too. That's something else that she might not trigger to. How do you receive your statements, bills, policies? Are you still receiving them paper in the mail? You getting them electronically? Maybe you're a combination of both. Now, remember in step 1 where I had 2 email addresses and I needed to document the purpose of each email. I started getting electronic statements. I'm trying to go completely paperless. But now my daughter knows which email address I use for electronic statements, so she's going to be able to easily go in there and access what she needs. This same goes for checks. Do you receive them in the mail, or are they automatically directly deposited into an account? Which account? What are those funds used for? And how is that account registered? It is always a good idea to take a look at all of your accounts and how they are registered. Are your accounts held individually, jointly with someone else? Are they held in the name of a trust? Please consider talking to a professional regarding your account registrations and how to help those assets avoid probate. I mean, maybe you need to put a TOD on an account. A TOD is a transfer on death resignation. And that's going to be able to be placed on a non-qualified account, putting a beneficiary on the accounts that are not a retirement account. Talk to your professionals. Now, what about unclaimed property? When was the last time you went and saw if you had any missing money? I went and looked. I didn't have any. I kind of wished I did. But I did find some family members who were listed, so I alerted them to go and take a look. And if you forget about, this statement here today, I did write a blog post, actually last year, and there's 5 different websites that you can just easily click on and go take a look to see if you have them yourself. And I hope you find some missing money. Should someone need to step in and take care of your daily routine, pay your bills, take care of your residence, that someone should easily be able to address each item if it's consolidated in an organized manner, rather than trying to figure out what you have, what needs to be changed, stopped, paid, or sold. Think about where you live and what expenses do you have for that residence, or maybe another piece of property. Where are the original documents? For example, the title if you own your house. Whose name is listed on the deed? If you have a mortgage, what are the details? How do you pay it? Is it a reverse mortgage? They would like to know that. So think about, what do your loved ones need to know about your life? And please, 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 do not wait. Whether it is an accident, illness, or loss of life, where to locate essential documents, stepping in to pay bills during a difficult time in someone's life, it can be emotionally confusing and very overwhelming. Ask yourself, what can you do to help your loved ones now while you're still able to do so? If your spouse does not pay any of the bills, teach them, tell someone, write down instructions. If you have a security camera, security system, ring doorbell, share those details. If you take care of something that your spouse or loved one really just does not want to learn, write it down. Write down so they can reference how to do it later. You can help shift their overwhelming feelings of anxiety, worry, and grief to more positive emotions like feeling of gratitude and appreciation. Each and every one of you have a way to help your loved ones go from grief to gratitude. Now, some folks have one car, that's all they need. However, others, we have many toys. Maybe you have a camper, a boat, and a trailer. My friend's husband owns a pilot. Well, he's a pilot, and he owns a plane, and he stores that plane, and he rents a hangar. Now, maybe some of you, there's a motorcycle in the house. Now, my friend doesn't fly an airplane, and most of us don't ride a motorcycle, right? So some of us might not be equipped to handle those types of vehicles. So we need guidance on how to deal with the ones that we can't move ourselves. Create an inventory list. How is the vehicle registered? Do you have a loan? Do you have a lease? Where is the original title located? The insurance details along with anything else that someone's going to need to know, such as a locked toolbox. Is there a special tool used for like a tire or a trailer? Remember the story about my European neighbor, the one that was trying to figure out how to get the trash to the dump? Well, she also needed to learn how to return the toll tag that, some states call it the Easy Pass, and the disability parking pass that was on her aunt's car. Step 9, we are almost there. Think about what you do in your spare time. What are your hobbies? What organizations are you involved with? Maybe you have a timeshare and you need to provide the property name, ownership, expenses. Where is the paperwork regarding that timeshare? Or perhaps you're involved with a gym. You have a gym membership, enjoy a meal delivery service, magazine subscription. Make sure your loved one knows how to contact your house of worship or any clubs that you are a member of. My family belongs to wine clubs. Sometimes the boxes just show up. But if something happens, right? Like my loved ones are going to need to know how to cancel those deliveries. Do you have an ongoing responsibility? Are you a board member, maybe a volunteer? Are you responsible providing activities for someone else? Now, some folks might pass up this section like, it's not really important. However, timely notification to an organization you are involved with to help find a replacement for you if you are unable to fulfill your commitment, it's going to be really helpful. Now, something like this might not be really important to one person, but it might be really important to someone else. My mom is an extremely active volunteer in her retirement, and she has a lot of commitments, and they mean something to her. I would want to make sure that I either stepped in and fulfilled the commitment for her, or I found a replacement so they are not left stuck, like stranded. And I know that is something that she would love for me to do. They also might not know if you belong to a weekly prayer group or a book club. Providing contact information for someone in that book club, it also provides a way for your loved ones to share the news about your passing to the people that they might not be aware of. The last step of this solution gathers information pertaining to our wishes. Death is the one thing all of us have in common, regardless of our race, age, gender, or background. Always a hard topic for you and your loved ones. Maybe you have a strong preference here and you know what your wishes are and you have everything all in place and you just need a place to write it down. Or maybe you have been avoiding this difficult topic and you find it hard to even talk about. That's okay. Find a way to relay what you want, and sometimes what actually is even more important to some people, what you don't want. I talk very openly with my daughter about this topic, And she asked me not that long ago, hey, Mom, do you want to be cremated? And if you do, what do you want done with your ashes? Well, I don't know how to answer that question right now, but I need to think about that because I want to make the decision for her. I don't want her to have to make that decision for me. Now, the reality is that we cannot control or dictate what happens after we pass away. But whether it is your spouse, child, distant relative, personal representative, they are going to appreciate you sharing these details, following your direction and fulfilling your wishes the way that you would like them. If you have prepaid for a funeral service, casket, plot, headstone, your loved ones are going to need to know this. Where did you prepay and where is the paperwork located? This is an emotional time for everyone. And the more details we're able to provide to make them not have to do those heavy decisions, it's going to help. It's going to ease the burden on my daughter so she doesn't have to say, what would Mom want? Some people write their own obituaries. They want to accurately convey the important things within their life. Also makes the things a little easier for their family. If you choose not to write your own obituary, it's important to provide sufficient enough details to assist in crafting one that truly reflects our life and our legacy. Your loved ones will truly appreciate following your direction and be grateful that they're going to be able to carry your wishes out the way that you would like them. Dealing with the aftermath of a loss can feel like an endless list of responsibilities. It can be incredibly stressful for those left behind. The feeling of grief is completely overwhelming. And adding paperwork to all of that, it just adds to the stress. However, providing a checklist brings a sense of relief, breaking down tasks into smaller, more manageable tasks, helping them feel more in control. This is going to provide crucial assistance and avoids unnecessary challenges. Personally, I find it satisfying checking things off a list. Kind of gives me a sense of accomplishment. Okay, 2 more slides. We are almost done. Moving off that very heavy topic. Consider writing something personable to your loved ones. None of us are excited about doing this. Matter of fact, the majority of us are going to dread the thought of it, right? Now, I tried adding a little bit of fun at the end of each step. Adding a page to write a fun memory, a loving thought, or some advice to your loved ones. 10 steps, 10 fun memories, 10 smiles that you're going to be able to deliver when you're unable to do so. You know, I had a woman in New Hampshire tell me that she wasn't a writer and she just went blank and didn't know what to write on the pages. She went through and found some old photographs and she taped them on the pages. So when her son is handling and managing her affairs, he's going to be surprised with the photographs that he saw. And I thought that was lovely. Okay, at the beginning of this presentation, I mentioned my mission for today. If you have not already done so, it is time to write something down. If you're sitting next to someone who hasn't written anything down, you can call them out on it because every single one of us has something to do, right? Now, once you have organized your life better, you've cleaned up some clutter, completely completed your comprehensive essential planner, now have a discussion with your loved ones or your designated responsible person and let them know where to locate it. And celebrate. This is a big accomplishment because you will be making things easier, providing a consolidated reference guide for them to use, and it is going to provide you peace of mind. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.